Keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what cousins are for. For good times and bad times, I'll be by your side forevermore. See, that's what cousins are for. Those words are very powerful. And I remember learning that song in middle school. The song was way, it was in the 80s, and I was in middle school in the late 90s. So I remember learning that song in middle school. And those words were very powerful and, what behind the lyrics and, the situations. It made the song very, very touching. And, I remember as a child, when that song, I kept hearing that song. Oh my gosh, the song been out before, I think before I was even born, but all through the 80s, I was born in the 80s, all through the 80s, I remember seeing Dionne Warwick perform this song all over the world. I just remember seeing her on a lot of talk shows and, just being interviewed and her singing this song. And it's such a beautiful song. And this is the end to Diva Week, and so I'm going to do Whitney Houston and Dionne Warwick's relationship as cousins, and as label mates as well. Miss Dionne Warwick. Oh my gosh! Now I always say a lot of people read divas like Shaka Khan and Tina Turner because they read in their own right. Miss Warwick is a rare diva in my opinion, she did a lot of iconic things before a lot of divas, have done them, have done the things that she have done. But like I said, you got Josephine Baker and Billie Holiday. They're divas in their own right, and crossing over. But Dionne, in my opinion, she was ahead of her time, in my opinion. Dionne crossed over when it was really hard for an African American female solo artist to cross over, and she crossed over so very well. And her voice is so I don't know if it's a family thing, like with her and Whitney, but their diction was so perfect. Miss Warwick's voice was so soothing, calm, beautiful, and so perfect that you really couldn't categorize her voice and her genre of music. It just was a beautiful voice, and like it wasn't so soulful, and it was just soothing and calm. That's why when I think of Dionne Warwick's voice, I think about soothing and calmness and peace and love and passion a little bit, and she's passionate in her music. And like I said, Dionne was in a lane of her own back then, where a lot of female artists was not accomplishing the things that she was doing. And I can't explain, like, okay, of course you have Aretha, but Aretha is the queen of soul, where Dionne she crossed over she had a lot of white audience before, a lot of white audience, they like groups and things like that. But for a black female, solo act, that was really, a big thing. Like back then, like, okay, Aretha was Queen of Soul. Diana Ross was with the Supremes back then when Dionne was doing her thing. So like I said, she was a solo act. Payla Bell was with the Bluebells. You know what I'm saying? So Dionne was out there, and Tina Turner was with Ike and Tina Turner. And Shaka Khan was with Rufus. So Dionne was doing this stuff way before a lot of these people, were doing their thing. And she was getting the Grammys. So, and especially for back in the day, an African American female with Grammys, she was bad. Miss Warwick, was born and raised in New Jersey, and she comes from the Drinkard family. And the Drinkard family consists of her mother was Lee Drinkard, and Lee Drinkard in Cicely Drinkard, who is Sissy Houston. They are sisters. So it was a whole. They had a whole lot of sisters and a brother. They had sisters and brothers. They was had a gospel group. They called the Drake Singers, a popular gospel group for back in the day. And I think after they started having kids. I think the kids started kind of taking over. And I remember Dionne being a part of the gospel group, and then later on singing background music, just like Whitney Houston, singing background for people, artists, and then getting her own record deal. So once Dionne became a solo artist, I think it was just like Whitney Houston, like you just couldn't deny that she was a star. You understand what I'm saying? And I remember Luther Vandross talking about how he first came across Dionne Warwick. I think he said she was performing on the Apollo, at the Apollo Theater, and he said it's just she was just in a lane of her own. And once she opened her mouth, that how everything just stopped. You know what I'm saying? And just because I could believe him because her voice, and then oh my gosh, her songs back then, like oh my gosh, they were so soothing. So for us, like how Whitney Houston is our diva, Dionne Warwick was Luther Vandross' number one diva. He loved Dionne Warwick. Now I'm not saying he didn't love Patti LaBelle and Cissy Houston and Shaka Khan and those and other divas, but Dionne was his diva. Patti LaBelle was more of his best friend type of person, but Dionne was his diva. They were close too, but he really adored Dionne, and he even said, made up the story that he was her brother. So that shows you how much love like he had for this lady. He really loved her, and that was his diva. Now looking at Dionne Ward's career, and you be like, she's accomplished a lot, but she's an overlooked diva in my opinion. Why I say that she's an overlooked iconic diva? Because a lot of times with the territory of being an iconic diva, a lot of people want to be in your business. Your business is kind of being exposed, and with the world of social media this day and age, as time go by, social media and just media outlets get more intense by the years. Now back in Dionne's day, social media wasn't out there. We didn't have the internet and things like that. So she's a very private person. So her business is her business. So you didn't hear a lot of stories of scandals with her or things like that that's keeping her in the media. So when people cannot get what I want to say, when your business are not out there, or stories or rumors about you, people don't find the artist personable. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? Like they don't know what she do or on her free time or who she's dating. But back then she did have a husband, but like they didn't know personal information about her that they could relate to her. Now Miss Warwick is on Twitter and she getting her life on Twitter, but back then we didn't have a Twitter or anything like that. So like she was one of those artists. She just gave us her music, but her personal life was off limits. You could tell. It's just like I don't remember. Well, I wasn't during her time, but I don't remember my grandmother or my aunt and them saying anything about Dionne Warwick, oh this, that, or whatever you have you. But I don't remember them gossiping about her. Like they might say stuff about Diana Ross or Aretha Franklin, but you really didn't have any dirt on Dionne Warwick, in my opinion. I never heard any weird stories, especially back then at the prime of her career. Now, on this channel, we all love Whitney Houston. We are her honey bunnies. And we love people that really was true allies to Whitney and really knew the true Whitney, aka Nippy. And it's so rare to find somebody of her heritage and, from her family, and that really was an ally, in my opinion. Miss Warwick, in my opinion, was a rare ally to Whitney Houston that came from her family that really loved Whitney unconditionally. The new Whitney before Whitney was born and after Whitney Houston's passing, so she know Whitney inside out. She know, baby Nippy, grown, teenage Nippy, grown with Nippy. She know the celebrity Whitney Houston. She know everything of Whitney Houston. And Dionne Warwick, in my opinion, really loved her cousin. So you have Dionne Warwick, this iconic diva in her own right, and her aunt, which is Sissy Houston. Sissy used to live with them, and they were really close. Sissy is really close with Dionne, kind of more like sisters a little bit in my opinion, but they were very close, and grew up in the like kind of same household. And Dionne is this big time celebrity, and Sissy has a baby girl. She already had two sons. So at this time, Sissy's trying to become a celebrity as well. As she's already a big time background singer, but I think now she's trying to more focus more on getting a name out there for herself. But anyway, so she has Whitney Houston, and at this time, Dionne Warwick, I don't know. I think she just started having her kids. She has two sons, but I think they're kind of around the same age, in my opinion. I think her sons might be maybe a little younger than Whitney. So Sissy Houston has this beautiful baby girl, and everybody loves this baby. And this baby grows up to be a beautiful little girl. And at this time, probably about, I want to say about like 5 or maybe 6. Maybe she could have been a little younger. During a performance of Dionne Warwick's, she called the spotlight, and the spotlight she called on for Little Nippy. She John and Sissy and the kids were at Dionne's show, and they said they put the spotlight on Whitney Houston, and she ate it up. They said Whitney loved the spotlight, and she loved the applause the audience was giving her, and it kind of sparked something in her to want to become a superstar. Now, during a lot of times in Whitney Houston's like elementary school years, like on summer's vacation, she would spend a lot of time with Dionne Warwick on the road. Even on Whitney Houston's Driven, Dionne Warwick herself said they called Whitney Houston and her kids, all of them were backstage babies. So they will always be backstage at shows and things like that. And Whitney really grew up with Dionne Warwick's sons. You can see pictures of them playing outside at the swimming pool. And Dionne Warwick is one of those people. I know she has a rare variety of photos and footage of Whitney Houston as a child, as a teenager, as a grown woman. I know her catalog of Whitney Houston's photos and footage is phenomenal. I would love to go through it. I can only imagine. Now, as you know, Whitney Houston is honing her craft in her teen years. Of course, she looked up to Dionne and her mother. I believe Whitney really looked up to Dionne in a way of stardom, but she always put her mother first because it's her mother, and she probably didn't want to hurt her mother's feelings. But I really know Whitney, in my opinion, really saw Dionne as like, oh, I want to be like that. That's the type of star I want to be, in my opinion. Now, with Whitney Houston on the path of becoming a star, I believe, of course, her mother played a very major part in grooming her. Her mother did a wonderful job in grooming her. And I believe Dionne was kind of a voice of letting her know about the business aspects, keeping a private life and, keeping it professional. I do believe Dionne did probably have private conversations with Whitney Houston about the business. So great minds think alike. Both women really wanted to be teachers. Well, Whitney wanted to be a teacher as a little girl, and it kind of faded a little bit, but Dionne wanted to really teach. She went to school. People don't understand. Dionne Warwick went to school, went to college, and really was wanting to be a teacher. She really wanted to be a teacher. So both of them had a love of teaching in their blood. Now we know times has changed. Now how people, not saying ride off people coattails, but like if your cousin is big time celebrity, you can be like, oh, you can put me on cuz, or you gonna help me get this deal and things like that. But back then it was not like that, especially from a family like from Miss Warwick's family and from Whitney's family. I they had to work for what they wanted. They had to work hard for their dreams, and it wasn't just given to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would think that Dionne would have, asked Clive Davis or told Clive Davis, look, my cousin can sing, can you give her a deal or, try to stop an interview? She didn't do that. What I believe Dionne did for Whitney, she probably told her keep up the hard work. And she might have told an A&R person from Arista, you know what, my cousin has a name for a buzz for herself in New York City. Go check her out at a nightclub. You understand what I'm saying? I do believe she had that influence, but I don't believe she would have just asked Clive Davis to check her cousin out. I believe she asked the A&R person or told the A&R person or just suggested, say, check out my cousin or check out a girl, that's singing at this nightclub. You understand what I'm saying? And I do believe she had that influence, but I don't believe that she was going to, walk Whitney to Clive Davis herself. I think she knew that. I think that Dionne, made her say, look, you got to earn this. If you want this, you got to earn this. And you got to earn it by yourself. You know what I'm saying? I think that was better, in my opinion, because it made Whitney Houston work hard and not live off of any type of family name or things like that. So, Dionne in her lane and Whitney's in her lane. And I think it was a beautiful thing once Whitney Houston got signed to Arista Records because her cousin signed to Arista Records. They're her label mates. And their careers were two different careers. You understand what I'm saying? Dionne is an established iconic diva, and this we have a baby diva coming out. So I think that was a beautiful thing. I'm happy that Dionne, in my opinion, didn't do that. Just tell Clive Davis, to sign her. Or now at showcases of Whitney Houston, Dionne Warwick could be found in the audience. I remember at one of Whitney Houston's really big showcases right before she, went in to record with Arista Records. Clive Davis had this big showcase for her, and Dionne Warwick and Jermaine Jackson was sitting next to each other, and Dionne Warwick was smoking a cigarette. We're gonna get into the smoking, and she was there, and it was so. I think Entertainment Tonight did a cover story on it, and this was like a new singer. It was so weird to see Whitney Houston as like this unknown singer, and she just had her flower in her natural hair, and she was singing her face off. And you could tell Dionne was so proud of her with them big pearly white smile. Oh, she was so proud of her cousin. And Whitney Houston was doing her thing. And I just remember I remember seeing one time on YouTube, but it's a rare clip of Dionne, supporting her cousin at a showcase. Now, after Whitney Houston was signed, I'm quite sure that, even before she was signed and after she was signed, I'm quite sure Dionne Warwick had private conversations with her cousin. But she knew that, she came from Sissy Houston, and she loved Sissy Houston. So she knew that Whitney Houston was in good hands, so she thought. And she knew that Sissy wasn't going to hurt her daughter and, really keep her daughter grounded in a professional business atmosphere. I do think, like I said, she taught her, she tried to teach her about the business. If a person can lead you to water, but if you don't drink it, understand what I'm saying? Hey. But I do believe she would, was telling her about the business. What I do love about Miss Ward, in my opinion, Miss Ward has she has a no nonsense attitude, with foolishness, but she also is a fair individual. She's old school because, like I said, she reminds me of my grandmother and my grandmother's sisters and women of that era. They are ladies. They are true ladies. They can be harsh a little bit, but what they're not trying to hurt you. They're not being malicious or vindictive. But also, you can tell Dionne, she even said it herself, she loves a good laugh. So she's more of a laid-back woman, a laid-back lady. And I feel as though she was there for Whitney Houston, and Whitney Houston needed her and needed to call on her, but she also know how the business operates, and she knew to fall back. She knew not to overpressure Whitney, not to over bombard Whitney, or not to be all in her business. But if Whitney really needed some advice from her, I know she was there for her. It's so funny that both of these women are iconic divas. It's both of them, they never misuse each other's name or try to clout chase off each other's name, or try to get some type of um exposure by keep saying their cousin name. In Dionne Ward's interview, you have to ask her about Whitney. And Whitney Houston videos, you have to ask her about Dionne. You gotta say, "Oh, aren't your cousin Dionne Ward, and aren't your cousin is Whitney Houston?" And they'll say yeah, and they'll give each other compliments, and they didn't give too much information because both of them was very private women. Now with Whitney Houston's first Grammy experience, it was so amazing for her to receive her very first Grammy Award from her cousin, Dionne Warwick. I mean, that is so, oh my gosh, I know for both of them, oh my gosh. Can you imagine? You are a big time celebrity, a big time iconic diva, and your little cousin is following in your footsteps, and she's making her own way. And you is kind of like passing the baton a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And you're giving your cousin their first Grammy. That is I know that was such an amazing night, a family moment. I know that was a moment that neither one of them will ever forget. And I remember when Dionne Warwick called Whitney Houston's name, she just screamed and dropped the paper like it was on fire. And Whitney just ran and they just hugged and cried like for a while. And then Whitney Houston gave her acceptance speech. Oh my gosh. I really wish somebody do an interview with Dionne about Whitney Houston. They ask her, how did she feel in that moment? Like, oh my gosh. And do she still remember that moment so vividly? Like, she remember everything, how she felt when she read Whitney Houston's name. And because Dionne Warwick can tell some great stories, and I would love for her to tell that story. Now I do remember Dionne and Whitney performing on Silent Gold, because Dionne Warwick was a phenomenal host for different events, shows. She just had that in her, and you just want to hear her talk, and you just want to hear her speak. With fame comes a lot of trouble and drama at times. And when Dionne was that type of person, like I said, she was a very private person. And I think that she, taught her cousin like to try to be private with her private life, that everybody don't need to know every part of your life. And, especially details, because people will turn and use things and turn it on you and things like that. And, a lot, Whitney Houston was dealing with a lot, especially in the mid 80s to late 80s, about, just private things about her life that, it was no one's business, especially back then, So I believe Dionne was in her corner. I believe Dionne loved Whitney Houston no matter what, unconditionally. But I believe Dionne probably told her, baby, keep your private life private. Now, like I said, with a lot of fame comes drama. And then we have the 1989 Soul Train Music Awards, one of the most devastating nights of Whitney Houston's career. And Dionne was there. She presented awards, and she introduced Bobby Brown. And during this time, after Whitney Houston was booed, after she was nominated for an award, I remember a magazine article saying that Dionne was furious. I think she even let the public know that she was furious during like a press conference, after the award show, they interview people. And I believe she probably expressed like that was not right to how the black audience, treated her cousin. That was very wrong. So Dionne was there that night. And I'm quite sure, she let Whitney know they just jealous and, don't worry about them. Both women had a very great, like, family friend relationship with Luther Vandross. And it's just like, you could Luther had all the divas. Like, he was cool with all the divas. Oh my gosh. And it's just so funny how he came across Miss Warwick, and how they established a really great, like, family friendship. You understand what I'm saying? And it's just like when you hear those stories about him saying that was his sister and him and Whitney singing background on people's albums, it's like it gives me goosebumps like, oh my gosh. I know it was kind of hard for Dionne to befriend or might be related to people that of the LGBT community. I know she probably was an ally to them, but she probably, told them, your business is your business. And you know what I'm saying? I could tell Dionne Ward, in my opinion, is not a judgmental person. She loves everyone unconditional. I just know that it probably did something to her to know that, a friend or a family member might be, of the LGBT community, but they couldn't, put their, they couldn't be themselves to the public. You understand what I'm saying? That they had to live double lives or they just couldn't be their true selves, with Luther Vandross and, with allegedly Whitney Houston, what I'm saying? So she probably felt their pain and was very empathetic to both of them, especially Luther, that was really, a true homosexual, but a closeted homosexual, allegedly. So she probably, was very empathetic of him can't even to, express himself in a truthful manner. I mean, like I said, Luther Vandross could sing, oh my gosh, talented music. Like his personal life was his personal life, but I believe when you cannot be your authentic self, that's when addiction, creep in, with him with the eating, in my opinion, Whitney Houston with the drugs, it's a lot. And I just believe, like I said, she was an ally to both of them. And I believe that she, she was empathetic to both of them in their situation. I remember as a child, probably like at 6 years old, I remember seeing a Jet cover and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Whitney Houston. Look at Whitney Houston. And I remember, was it my mother? Like, that's not no Whitney Houston. That's Dionne Warwick. And she looked really like Whitney Houston on the Jet cover. And come to find out, it was her album cover for her new album. And her and Whitney Houston did their only duet together. It was a song called Love Will Find a Way. And that was their only duet they recorded together. I wish they would have recorded more, but that was the only one. Now, with Whitney Houston's star going into the stratosphere, oh my gosh, she was this big time singer. Now she's this big time actress. Now she's a wife and a mother. And Dionne was there through it all. Dionne was at the wedding. Dionne was at the bridal shower party. And she was there. She supported her cousin. That's one thing I can say about each other. Both of them, these women supported each other. Through the good times and bad times. Dionne was always supportive at award shows, giving Whitney an award, presenting an award to Whitney, and vice versa. Even if they were going through tough times, they was always there for each other when it was really needed. And that's what I really loved about their relationship, that both of them never overexposed each other's, their relationship as cousins, as being close cousins. And it was just a beautiful thing. Dionne was a star in her own right, and Whitney Houston was a star in their own right, and they just happened, they was cousins. You understand what I'm saying? And Whitney Houston was a private person that people that she really loved and was really allied to her, she kept them very private. Because you know how the media can be so vicious, and people in general can be so vicious, want to destroy relationships and family relationships. It's terrible. So I'm glad that they kept their, relationship as cousins, true cousins, under wraps, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't need to know, the family trips they went on and things like that. But how the press and stuff could be so vicious and want to, pry into people's personal life. Now, during Whitney Houston's career, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of unraveling starting to happen to Whitney Houston's personal life. And, she was caught with marijuana in Hawaii. But Dionne Warwick also was caught with marijuana in Miami. And Dionne was more slicker than Whitney. See, they said allegedly she put her marijuana rolled up into lipstick containers. I said, oh my gosh, she a slick OG. And Whitney, of course, they found it in her bag. So both of these divas were caught with marijuana by the law. Now, with a lot of ups in life, there's a lot of downs. Now, another moment. Now, Dionne was there when Whitney Houston got booed. Now, a second humiliating moment for Whitney Houston's musical career was her getting fired at the Oscars. Now, there at that rehearsal, Dionne Warwick was one of those people on stage with her cousin. And it was such a bad like a bad situation on someone's resume. So with Whitney Houston musical resume, this was her getting fired. And I think this is her first time getting fired publicly. And Dionne was there to witness her cousin. Like she couldn't do nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Dionne could just probably like, baby, get it together and get yourself together, baby. She wouldn't publicly humiliate her or comment on it, but she probably, gave her a talking to behind stage or, over the phone or, whatever the case may be. Now, during, after Whitney Houston's, oh my gosh, terrible appearance at the Michael Jackson concert, she kind of hid from the public eye for a little while. And then she came out of hiding to present her cousin Dionne with an award. They have a few pictures of the event. So she presented the award, to Dionne, even though she was going through a lot at the time. She was going through a lot, y'all. But she still made it to her cousin award ceremony to present the award to Miss Warwick. In like the early 2000s, like 2003, 2004, Whitney Houston really wanted to get her life together in one of her rehab moments. And I don't know, was it Dionne Warwick's idea or Natalie Cole? They did a tour. I think it was in China. I know it was overseas. And they did a Soulful Divas tour. And at this time of Whitney Houston's life, oh my gosh, she looked so hard and tired. She just looked like she just was tired. She just needed a break, a healthy break. She was sober minded during the tour. You could tell she was bright eyed for her. Her outfits and her hair was just like she was going through. You know what I'm saying? Like she was going, I guess, through the withdrawals and things like that. But Dionne was right there by her side, right there. Natalie Cole was right, and Natalie Cole know the situation. So Natalie Cole been through it herself. So both of them were encouraging Whitney. You understand what I'm saying? They didn't down her or say, "Oh no, y'all, you can't come on tour with us." They turned that negative into a positive. Those women were there for her. They breathed love into Whitney, and it was a great. I think Whitney needed that, and I think it kind of built her confidence a little. And she still could sing. That's the thing about it. During this tour, Whitney Houston still could sing. She was not there physically. She didn't look like she was too much there physically, but she still could sing and she still could perform. Also, her and Dionne was a recipient of a World Woman Awards overseas. And this time, you could tell Whitney was trying to, play mommy, really, put time and effort into her daughter because Bobby Christina was there with her during the award ceremony. And you could tell Whitney Houston was sober. She was sober. And Dionne was there with her. And they accepted their awards and they start singing That's What Friends Are For. And Whitney Houston wore it out. I think Whitney scared her own self because when she hit that note and it was a perfect note and it was such a powerful range, and even Dionne like kind of backed up like, wow, where did this come from? Because she still had it. She mentally, she might not have been there, but she still had it. And I think that was a good moment for both of the ladies, to share. Her cousin was going through something and she was there for her cousin. Both divas love furs. Oh my gosh, I remember seeing a picture of Miss Warwick promoting her song Deja Vu. I didn't see it back then when it was taken, but years later when you look at celebrity photos, I remember seeing this photo, and she had this beautiful fur, and oh my gosh, the cover is gorgeous. And Whitney Houston, she loved a nasty fur. So both of them had a common love of fur. In a diva, a diva has a certain image and glamour. And with Dionne Warwick, I think during her time as a diva, in the prime of her being a diva, um, I think cigarette smoking was like glamorized, like in the movies where the women were smoking, the most, and had their furs and their gowns and they smoked. And I think a lot of, people looked up to that, like, oh my gosh, that's so glamorous. So you just play around with a cigarette, not knowing it has nicotine inside of it, and you become addicted to it. So Dionne Warwick, I don't know if she still smoked now, but I know throughout her career she was a chain smoker. And just like Dionne Warwick, Whitney Houston seeing her mother and seeing Dionne smoke cigarettes, Sissy stopped, and Whitney never stopped. And she picked up that habit, probably thinking it was glamorous at first, and then not knowing nicotine is in that cigarette, and she became a chain smoker. And both women, as a result of them chain smoking, a consequence was their voice was kind of stripped. Like Dionne's wasn't bad as Whitney's, but Dionne's voice is very raspy, just like Whitney Houston's voice was raspy. But Whitney's was more heavier, raspy in later years, where Dionne still has her speaking voice. One thing Dionne Warwick pride herself on with Whitney Houston, that she taught Whitney Houston room service very well. And it's so funny because it's the truth, and I'm gonna tell you how I found out. Okay, now back then I probably was about 10. I had to be about 10. No, I was probably about 8 or 9. And my aunt worked at a hospital, and the lady, one of her co-workers, he played, an instrument. I don't know what musical instrument he played, but he played sometimes with Whitney Houston's band. And I was like, "Are you serious?" And she would tell her co-worker that she had a family member that really loved Whitney Houston. And I was a child back then, and sometimes when people tell stories, and they was like, "Oh, Whitney is not like how how she seemed on stage. She is very picky, especially with her room service." And he was just the lady was relaying a message, not a message, but a story that her husband was telling her, that how Whitney Houston, the whole time at a hotel, she just kept sending her food back, and especially with the pancakes, that they did not cook the pancakes right. They was either too fluffy or too hard or too cold, or it was like crazy. It kind of humanized Whitney Houston, because when you look at this, was when Whitney Houston was on the, I would say, like, bodyguard tour, maybe doing filming for Wait and Exhale. And this was during that time where I was hearing these stories, and it was like, wow. And they was like, he didn't say she was mean, but he said she was very picky when it came to her food, and especially with room service. So that's when I had found out about 9 years old. But then I remember, like, doing a documentary, I remember Dionne Warwick saying that, and I was like, oh my gosh, that man was telling the truth. She really is picky with her room service. And I do remember a story. It was like an overseas story that Whitney doing her tour. I think I might have been My Love Is Your Love tour. I don't know, but it was a tour, and that she wanted this dining room, and the hotel was like, oh, it's only for the elite people. And this is Whitney Houston. Come on now, Whitney Houston. And they wouldn't. I don't know. They didn't know who Whitney Houston was or how big Whitney Houston was or whatever the case may be, but they did not give her the dining table. So they said. Whitney Houston, I believe it, because allegedly they said Whitney Houston that day, the whole day, she just kept ordering room service and kept sending it back on purpose despite them. I said Whitney Houston was so petty what she wanted to be. Even through the dark moments in Whitney Houston's life, anytime they would ask Dionne a question about her cousin, she didn't get too personal about it. She would tell people just pray for her cousin and uplift Whitney and encourage Whitney. And she just was a true, in my opinion, a true cousin. She was a true person, a true ally to Whitney Houston. After Whitney Houston filed for divorce and going to rehab, getting herself together, who was there again? Dionne Warwick. Dionne and the whole Houston, well, Draker family came together to record a song on Tyler Perry's soundtrack movie, Daddy's Little Girl, and the song is called Family First. And you can hear Whitney, Miss Warwick, and Sissy leading the song Family First. Even Bobby Christina has a part in the song. And I believe, oh my gosh, this was such a beautiful moment because Whitney Houston really, she really needed them, y'all. She really needed them at this time in her life. You know what I'm saying? She's sober. She just, got out of a bad marriage and she needs support. You know what I'm saying? And the littlest thing, she probably was extra sensitive and could, she could be triggered. So they came to support her in a moment she needed the most, for her sobriety, for her being a single mom now. And they all came together. I think Dionne Warwick, one of her sons, produced the song. And everybody from their family was in that studio that day, honey. And they had a wonderful, beautiful time. And Whitney was just smiling and glowing. She had no makeup on, but she was just happy because her family really was there to support her. And it was just a beautiful moment. It was with Dionne Warwick, Sissy Houston, Bobby Christina, even their cousin Felicia Moss Eaton was there in the recording studio with them. And it just was a beautiful moment for them. And like I said, Whitney really needed her family there at that time in her life. Beautiful moment. On the day of Whitney Houston's passing, one of the last people that Whitney Houston talked to on the phone was Dionne Warwick. They was laughing and saying they was going to see each other at Clive Davis annual Grammy parties, where both of them, you could see them years and years and years, being photos of them at that party, at Clive Davis notorious pre-Grammy party. And Whitney and Dionne was always there, sometimes performing and things like that. And, she said Whitney was in great spirit and Whitney was waiting to see her. She couldn't wait to see her, at the party. And that was the last time Dionne spoke to her cousin. Miss Warwick spoke at Whitney Houston's funeral. And over the years after Whitney's passing, people, interview her and they ask her about, Whitney and the way that she talks and speaks about Whitney was like it was her own daughter. How the love she had for Whitney. And I remember on one interview they played "Save All My Love for You," and it kind of like it brought tears to her eyes and kind of like I know they had to stop the song because it was really heartbreaking to her to hear that song and that Whitney's gone. And she remembered the moment, you know what I'm saying? She lived the moments, Whitney Houston, biggest moments and darkest moments with Whitney, during her career. She lived through it. She was right there with Whitney at the Grammys or at a video shoot or, at a family function or party or whatever the case may be. This is not some stranger or family friend. This is Whitney Houston's cousin. She held Whitney Houston when she was a baby. You understand what I'm saying? So it like when people ask her about Whitney Houston, you could tell it gets to her really bad. Like she might just talk about Whitney maybe like for 1 minute, and you could tell because she's gonna bust out crying. You could tell it really hurts her that her cousin is no longer here. You could tell it hurts her that Bobby Christina is no longer here. And you could tell Dionne was one of them aunts that you got all the grandkids and the kids and the grandbabies all together at for family dinners and holidays and cookouts and things like that. So you could tell she was one of the ones she liked being around the grandkids and the children and the nieces and nephews. You could tell she liked that. It's pictures of Dionne back in the day with Whitney and her kids, with Dionne, her kids, and Whitney Houston at birthday parties and things like that. She always loved the children to be together. And family was really like the Drake's family. they are very close. They are very family oriented and they think highly of each other and each other's opinion about each other. So, like I said, very private people, but they are very family oriented. In later years, after Whitney Houston's passing, like with different movie projects and the hologram, um, Miss Warwick does not approve. She doesn't approve of the hologram and she doesn't approve of the rumors and speculations and accusations. She doesn't approve of those things. And she, like I said, she always uplifted her cousin. I remember that someone just interviewing her just when Whitney Houston was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She said she's so proud of Whitney and that Whitney should have been had it. Now, let me tell you one thing. Miss Warwick does not play about the true definition of an iconic diva. She, oh my gosh, she said, her opinion about Brandy, Mary J. Blige, Toni Braxton, and even Beyonce. She said Beyonce got work to do. I remember in one interview, she said Brandy's, she come a long way. She said Mary J. Blige come a long way. She said she remembered Mary J. Blige in combat boots. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, Miss Ward is so funny. She said Toni Braxton, she don't think Toni Braxton would even want that type of, status. You understand what I'm saying? And I kind of can see what she says. She might not want that kind of status. Like, people don't understand. Well, when you're icon, you can't go outside for nothing. You can't even go to the mailbox. You can't even go to the store without somebody hassling you or prying in your business or doing some type of weird stuff to be associated with you. You can find Miss Work on Twitter. She always tweeting and she loves it. She is having the time of her life. I think she's on Instagram now. I hope she do YouTube. I would love for her to be in her kitchen cooking and telling us stories or showing photos and footage of her during her life and Whitney Houston's life and other celebrities giving us stories, like good funny stories that she gave, like especially with her and her fan impression over Sidney Poitier. I think that was what she said. We're talking about the story. It was a very funny story, but like I said, very, very, very wonderful woman. I also know that Teyana Taylor is in works of playing her in a series, and LaToya Luckett got the role of playing her in a docu-pic, like a movie. So LaToya Luckett will be playing her in a movie, and Teyana Taylor will be playing her in a series, a television series. And you could tell she is so tickled that Teyana is playing her, because you could tell she loves Teyana Taylor. And both of them really do look alike because they have the beautiful high cheekbones. Oh my gosh. Dionne, Miss Warwick, you are a beautiful woman. The beautiful brown skin, high cheekbones. Oh my gosh, her cheekbones are so high. Like, people like that with high cheekbones, they don't age really bad. They age really gracefully, and oh my gosh, she has a beautiful smile. Her teeth is beautiful. You could tell, like she said, she loves laughing. Just a good, like I said, she is a laid back lady. She is a true definition of lady. Always kept herself classy, beautiful, elegant, classy. She just had a lot of class and grace with herself. On a personal note, Miss Warwick, thank you for being a great cousin to Whitney Houston. We over here, we love Whitney Houston. And I know you was a true ally to her. I know you didn't stress her out. I know you loved her unconditionally. And I know you talked to her when she needed talking to, but you didn't over talk Whitney. You gave her just enough, in my opinion. And we thank you for that. We thank you for your legend, your iconic work of music. My favorite Dionne Warwick song would have to be Walk On By. I don't know. I saw her doing a performance, and those people was in the background like tiptoeing, doing their little dance. I was like, yes, ma'am, I love it. So that's my favorite Dionne Warwick song. I love you, Miss Warwick. Keep smiling. You are such an iconic diva in your own right, in your own lane. You did it before a lot of divas done it. And we love you over here. We love you, Miss Warwick. Bye-bye. My favorite Dionne Warwick moment, because like I said, I didn't know Dionne Warwick in a personable level. I just knew her on just her being a singer. You understand what I'm saying? And seeing her maybe on a commercial here and there or different award shows. But I never knew that she was her personality. So during Celebrity Apprentice, I used to love watching that show, and I got to see her, and I said, "Oh, Dionne Warwick is like she is like I said, she's a lady, she's laid back, and she's old school. Don't start now, won't be none, and respect is the key factor in getting along with her." And I remember, it was a night that she got eliminated, and Nene felt so. You could tell Nene was unease of about Dionne being eliminated. So she gonna run to the elevator when Dionne was leaving, the show. And Dionne Warwick said, "Baby, you a coward, baby." And I bust out laughing that entire night. And that's every time I see a picture of Dionne and Nene like on the show, I just can hear Dionne Warwick saying, "You a coward, baby." And it was so funny because like people back in the day, they are nice, nasty. They know how to read you, but read you so nicely. You're a coward, baby. No, no, she said, "Baby, you're a coward." Like, baby, just sweeten it up, but you still a coward, girl. And I thought that was so funny. But that's my favorite Dionne Warwick moment.